Hi, in this lesson I want to cover off a few of the ways that you can launch services when you're using a cloud service. So we talked in the last lesson about using the management console. You can use a graphical user interface in a web browser in order to launch services on the cloud. So an example of this is the AWS management console. And in here you can choose a service under a certain category, like you can choose EC2 if you want to launch a virtual server in the cloud, or S3 if you want to store some data on the cloud. And you can access this through a standard web browser, so you don't need any special software. Any web browser means that you can then launch services on the cloud from any internet-based location. We then have the command line. With the command line, you have to install something on your computer, like a command line interface from your cloud service provider. And then you can run commands from anywhere on the internet and launch cloud services. So in this example here, the command will launch a virtual server on Amazon Web Services, and you can configure some of the attributes associated with that service, like how much CPU and RAM and storage it's going to need, by choosing what we call the instance type with EC2. And then we could also run another command that lists some data in a bucket. So a bucket is a type of container on an object storage system. And this command says AWS S3, that's the name of the service, list the data in this bucket. So that's how you would use then a command line interface in order to interact with the cloud service. And then lastly, we have the software development kit. In this case, a developer is going to write some code in what's called an integrated development environment, such as Visual Studio Code, as per this example here. And in this example, the developer has written some code in Node.js that's going to launch a service in the cloud. So you can write that code and then use that to launch services in the cloud. So those are a few of the common ways that you would be able to interact with your cloud service. And these should be available to you so that you can actually interact in these ways using the internet.